Hey, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Jack. Today I wanted to quickly run through a topic that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and that is whether you need to have fun to be more productive. Speaking from my experience, when I find something enjoyable, it's so much easier to complete. What I find myself doing is the time seems to blend away, the sort of barriers to entering the task don't seem to be as present as with a task I don't find enjoyable. Overall, it's just such a more natural experience. What we've found ourselves as a society doing now is to pinpoint jobs that we know are secure, jobs that are well paid. And what we then have is an influx of people targeting themselves directly in those areas. And there is always sort of an influx, an over-influx of people targeting specific roles, definitely at specific companies. From my experience, this is the big four audit firms in the UK as an accountant, but there are also other companies in different areas. A lot of them are based in finance though, although I'm sure with marketing and graphic design there are companies that are deemed as very preferable to work for. And that's the whole thing here, is that people have developed, and the society as a whole has developed this sort of belief that you can only do one thing and it doesn't matter if you enjoy it or not, but if you go down that path then you will be productive and successful. And I just wanted to clarify here, I don't think there's anyone who finds everything that they do 100% fun. There will be things, even if you convert a passion to a job, that you don't enjoy about it when you're running it as a business, maybe compared to what it was when it was just a hobby. And bringing me on to hobbies, that kind of covers something that I really wanted to talk about today, which is turning a hobby into a job should be a priority for people, and turning a hobby and something you find enjoyable into a job that you can see yourself doing long term. Now, I think it's quite difficult because a lot of sort of what would be deemed as standardized, very secure job roles are not things that people typically do in their spare time. I don't know anyone who does accounting in their spare time. Maybe a couple of spreadsheets, but that's about it. But this only really applies to things that are from a less creative sphere. Now, I know a lot of people who enjoy drawing in their spare time. That flows very well into a graphic design career. And what you find people doing then is specifically targeting, well, I'm good at drawing, so I must be a graphic designer for these companies, and anything else less than that is not a success. What I think is a really interesting way of now turning it on its head is, well, I'm good at designing things. Why don't I reach out and design things for people first of all, build a brand, build a business, a personal business based on name, solely on name, and then from there you can develop social media, sort of Twitter, Instagram, all these kind of things. But the having fun element here is what's driving and keeping everything together. There is a timesing effect that sort of happens when you enjoy something. We've all experienced this. So when you want to achieve something and to be productive, we're talking about inputs related to our outputs, and we want to try and improve and sort of increase the efficiency of outputs versus the volume of inputs. What happens when you're having fun and enjoying something you do? You already typically would have a background knowledge on it. So this means that the inputs themselves are less sort of arduous and difficult to come across. And then actually you effectively have like a timesing rate that happens. It's almost like a compounding effect. You gain this almost like 10% boost to whatever you're doing. And it could be more in some cases, depending on how passionate you are. But what you find is there's this like 10% boost then that happens on top of your inputs, which then sort of even further drives the level of outputs that you achieve. And it's quite an interesting concept. We don't really notice it when we're doing something we find enjoyable, but at the end we don't feel fatigued or worn out when it's something that we've really enjoyed, unless it's a massive project, but in the majority of cases when you're doing something you really enjoy, you could be playing a video game for 8 hours, but at the end of it you'd still feel fine. You'd still feel sort of well in yourself. You wouldn't feel as fatigued as you would do if you'd had to do an 8-hour day at work and you'd found the work really difficult. Productivity as a whole is a very wide subject range. It's not specific to anyone, absolutely. Everyone deals with productivity in different ways. But one thing I can say is that when we have fun, we do translate that into more productivity. And we do make ourselves produce greater and probably higher quality of outputs when we are having fun doing so. I think something that summarizes this theory very well is a quote that I came across the other day by Aristotle, which is that pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. At the moment, we've got an increasing amount of people who are just finding that everyday work is tiring and exhausting, and there are things that they strive to complete the day for to then go home to. If you've watched this far and you found it interesting then please like and subscribe. It makes a massive difference in growing this channel. If you find something fun, then you will be more productive and it will make the job at hand far easier. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.